tuning in to the online broadcast network, AfterBuzz TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AfterBuzz TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing after shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hello, everyone, and happy Tuesday. If you are tuning into AfterBuzz TV, you have come to the right place because this is the Amazing Race After Show for Season 28, Episode 3, Bros. Or was it Boys Become Bros?
Yeah, Bros. No, Bros.
I always mess it up.
Bros Being Jocks.
Bros Being Jocks. I'm your host, James Wallington, and with me is...
Hey, guys, I am Jessica Carroll, and unfortunately, Marie could not make it this week, but... she is, I'm sure she's tuning in and she watched and she gave us all her insight. But we actually, right before this, we picked our teams for the fantasy, and...
which is exciting because a lot of people have been asking us since the first episode, what happened? Why
Yeah.
aren't you guys picking your teams? But we wanted to make sure 2 teams went home before we picked a solid team.
Right.
And that gave us 3 episodes to kind of learn.
Get to know the
dynamic.
teams, yep.
Yes. So it was really helpful and beneficial when selecting the teams for our fantasy draft.
And for some reason, James got a pick first.
Thank you to everyone who voted. It was actually so close. Marie was like probably like point something, like 0.2 points, just enough to be first. But phew, I was worried that Marie was gonna like. But I mean, all of the teams that we did pick for the fantasy draft, like there, in my opinion, there's a winner on each team. Like it'll go one way or the other.
Yeah.
Not one team is stacked like last season with
Oopsies.
Jess. So we'll definitely talk more towards the end of our recap today about our fantasy draft and moving forward and all that kind of stuff. But let's dive right into episode 3.
Episode 3, I thought it was good. I mean... it was exciting. The game they played looked really fun.
Oh yeah, the little with the bomb.
With the
Yes,
with the bomb.
I say bombs because Tyler said it was like playing
like,
cornhole, but with bombs and rocks. So I really liked that too. That was fun.
So yeah, it was.
And
good.
I thought it was interesting at the beginning how they did a flashback to last week's episode. Well, it said leg 2 because it was footage that I don't remember seeing in last week's episode with a little disagreement and miscommunication between Matt and Dana.
Yeah.
It seems like they constantly are having this battle of they're not really communicating enough to really understand what the other person's trying to say and how they really need to kind of see eye to eye. So it just opened up right away with this drama of them bickering from leg 2. And I was thinking, this is totally going to set the tone for the episode.
Yeah.
But...
and it was funny because they stayed in Colombia. So when the first scene started at Matt and Dana at the airport, I was like, they're not flying anywhere. So where did this clip come from? But obviously it was from leg 2. But this whole thing kind of shows you that I feel like Matt and Dana are being portrayed as almost the villains. Like the people who are, always bickering and fighting.
They
and
can't get it together.
Can't get it together. Like they always say like, we need to calm down. She said that indecision is what will make you, what kills the race. And she's not wrong. She is correct. And so they need to work on their communication skills.
I agree. Completely.
But
Otherwise,
somehow they still continue to get the job done.
Right. Exactly. And another little bit at the beginning that I thought was super cute was Tyler and Corey. Because I think a lot of opinions that I've seen or tweets here and there about Tyler and Corey is like, why are they not dating? And so they kind of got like established the fact that they're friends. And Tyler did have a crush on Corey at the beginning. And then was like, no, whatever. And that Corey's little comment about like, wait, so you thought I was good looking, but my personality sucked?
He was like,
just funny.
Those are your words.
Their banter's cute.
Oh my God, I just love the two of them. I actually had the honor of meeting Tyler and Corey last week, and they are literally just like that in real person. I mean, Tyler's laugh is, I think, priceless. I wish I could record his laugh whenever I'm feeling down, just play it, because he is
It's definitely contagious.
It is. Their energy is contagious, and you can tell they're truly best friends because they were hanging out together. So it's really cool to see them in person.
Who knows? Maybe towards the end of the race, we'll see them maybe had a budding romance. Who knows? I know some people are supporting of that idea.
Yeah, that would be nice.
We also hear Brody and Kurt kind of discuss the fact that their biggest flaw, well, Brody's, I think it was just Brody's flaw, or maybe the team as a whole, is that they move too fast.
Yeah.
Like they're a little too eager. They maybe don't take their time with certain tasks, which it's so funny now that we've been recapping the show for so long. It's funny how you really want to analyze the editing and the different sound bites that producers do decide for us to hear. So I'm thinking, Brody and Kurt, this might be reasoning for you to be eliminated because you just move too fast and make a huge mistake that could cause you a penalty to ultimately be sent home. So it'll be interesting kind of see if that little bit foreshadows what ultimately happens with Brody and Kurt.
Yeah. And I also love how Kurt, he just like came right out and he was like, I talk a lot. But Brody's used to it. I loved that.
Another team that stuck out to me at the beginning was Bernie and Ashley. They said something that I really enjoyed just because they are gamers and they have a gaming channel on YouTube called Rooster Teeth. Bernie said something along the lines of, as when we aren't happy with something or our score in a game, we can keep trying over and over again. Whereas in Amazing Race, you don't get the opportunity to have a restart. You just have one shot. And then they were saying how in games, when you get to checkpoints, it's a safe zone. But in the Amazing Race, checkpoints might mean you're eliminated. Yeah. So I like how they compared their gaming world and their lifestyle and their passions with the Amazing Race. It's just really fun and a nice little element to see with them as a team. At the beginning of the race, the teams received clues to travel on foot. Let me start that over. Teams had received clues to travel on foot towards Plaza de San Diego to search for Polera dancers. To receive their next clue, they were then instructed to go to Castillo San Felipe de Barajas to search a series of catacombs inside for a clue box containing the detour clue. I honestly just didn't understand why they didn't just go straight to the detour.
I know, I don't understand that. They always have to go to like one spot to get another clue to go to another place.
And when you say it's on foot, there really isn't much like at stake, and it was just kind of blasé. I was just like, okay, run down a few blocks, get your next clue that tells you to finally go to your first challenge. I just didn't understand why they didn't just skip to the detour.
I didn't get it either. Very confusing. It wasn't even like a cool place. They were just literally they just grabbed the carried on.
And I don't feel like they really showed much of the dancers. It would have been cool for them to have to do a dance or learn something at that little spot, even if it was like a quick 5-minute thing to get their next clue. But it was just show up, ooh, great, dancers, now give me my clue.
And they didn't even acknowledge the dancers. They were just like, okay, clue, bye.
We learned a lot more about Zach and Rachel's dynamic, too, at this point. There's a little clip of them talking about how Rachel in her video, she's kind of more in the background, and Zach's little vines.
That video that they showed during with the jelly. Oh my God, that was so funny.
Well, she was just saying that, the race is more of an opportunity for them to share the spotlight together. And I like that. That's really, especially for being newlyweds, I think that's really important. So
yeah, I think they're going to definitely grow during this race, which is awesome. And then the models, I loved their sound bite. She says, "Speed walk, it'll look better on camera too."
I definitely caught that one. I love
the models. They are hilarious. They're always making sure they look the best.
One thing that's really interesting to me about this cast in particular is that it seems like some people are really uncomfortable with like tight spaces. Aaron is probably a little bit more vocal about it, but I know Sherry made a comment about going in the catacombs. It's just, I don't think I would necessarily have that big of an issue with that kind of thing. What do you think that would be a struggle for you?
Luckily, I don't get claustrophobic at all, but I know a lot of people that do, and it is like, you saw Erin when she was going through the tunnel, she was like, I feel lightheaded, she could barely breathe. People literally feel like the walls are caving in on them, and so that would have been really, really tough. And for her to already do it twice in just 3 episodes, I felt bad for her. But she did a good job. I mean, she stuck through it.
There because I remember the preview clip for this week's episode. It honestly seemed a lot more dramatic than the episode showed. Sure, that moment with Erin being in there was dramatic. It was really personal for her. This is a fear that she's struggling with. But last week, it made it seem like it was going to be this like do or die situation where she's either going to be able to do it or she won't, and it was going to hurt their team. But it really wasn't that blown up on a large scale in the episode.
Yeah, it was fine. But it did. The walls, like... I was even watching it. Yeah, I was watching it. I was even kind of ducking. It's like, when you drive into a garage in a tall car and you kind of just duck even in your own car. That's how I felt.
I just want to give some shout outs in the live chat because I know I haven't really been addressing a lot of the comments that are being made, but it's definitely alive and popping.
Good, I love it.
30 people watching live right now. Of course, some shout outs to Arrowman, Mr. Air Sonic, Michael Dunn, Chels M90, Aaron Lune, Mary Dudot 444, Jamie H, just to name a few that I see on my screen at this time. But it looks like a lot of people have already been talking about I saw a few comments just addressing the fact that with these teams, they're just too nice to each other.
Yeah.
They're not very aggressive in the competition. So we'll definitely address that later because I have 2 comments that I want to make that maybe they aren't as nice as they seem.
Well, they don't really seem to interact much with each other. And when they do, it's always like, hey, let's help each other out. Like we saw later on, we'll get into it. We saw a lot of teams helping each other out.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like they're not really being competitive. They're more aiding and helping, teaming up.
Once teams completed the catacombs task on this leg, they were given their detour clue: tickets versus Tejo. Is that right? Tejo?
Yeah.
Seems simple enough.
Yeah.
And tickets, teams must choose a bus and had to work as bus attendants. They then had to attract enough passengers to earn at least 20,000
pesos.
Colombian pesos,
yep.
Approximately $5.98 in US dollar for the conductor, who would then give them their next clue. In Tejo, teams must play a traditional game with metal disc and gunpowder. They had to hit a target 3 times for their next clue. Which detour would you have done, Jess?
I would have definitely done the trick Tejo. I kind of like what Tyler said. I have played cornhole, and it was kind of like cornhole, and I actually kind of like setting bombs off, as bad as that sounds. I mean, I like loud noises, so that would have been a really fun one. And like I was saying earlier, I actually now want to try this game, so I guess I have to go to Colombia. But yeah, I would have definitely, just because the tickets with the bus, it seems a lot more challenging. It's more out of your hands, whereas the other one is more in your control.
I completely agree. I would have done Tejo, no doubt about it. I felt like it was a little bit easier.
Yeah.
And again, it was more reliant on you as a team, as your personal skill and ability to bring to the race. Whereas the bus portion of this detour, which I know Marie has been very adamant about, is a little bit more out of your control.
Yeah, well, if you think about it, first of all, whenever there's money involved, it's just challenging for me, especially. Like, I'm not really great with money. I don't like dealing with money. I don't like talking about money. And also the language barrier, like there was just so many elements that would have made it a lot more challenging. So the other one, it's like, okay, you have a target, let's hit it and get it over with.
Mm-hmm.
So
I agree.
Yeah.
And it kind of brings me back to last season. So shout out to season 27.
Woo-hoo.
It brought me back to that challenge with the teams having to go with the piano and like the musicians and getting money.
Right, yeah.
I don't know if that episode was towards the end of the season, and a lot of teams kind of struggled with that because you had to ask for money. And I felt like in this it was kind of similar in the sense that it's not reliant on you. You can do whatever you want to get the money, but like people are either going to give you the money or they're not going to give you the money. And that could be a lot of time wasted that could help you accelerate in the leg.
Yeah.
So that's why I definitely would have gone with Tejo. And it honestly seems like a lot of our viewers in the live chat right now would do Tejo as well. But Jamie H said that the bus detour just seems a little bit more fun. Interesting.
Yeah. And you know what? I was actually really surprised. So out of all the teams, I mean, I get, okay, Jocelyn and Aaron, I get that they would do the bus because they're people person. They have great energy. Rachel and Zach, once again, he could, I don't know, do maybe magic. I thought maybe he would do magic tricks to kind of get people to give the money.
That would have been a perfect opportunity.
I was thinking that. I was like, oh my gosh, that would have been so perfect. And then Blair, of course, she did her adorable like beso for a peso. That was adorable. But I was actually surprised that the models didn't decide to do the bus one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it worked to their advantage anyways, but I thought for sure, like, good-looking girls, easily could.
Well, that's what they kind of said in the beginning of the race. When you kind of get to know their dynamic, is that they weren't afraid to use what they got
beauty,
to get ahead in the competition. And like you said, this would have been more of the avenue to take as far as the detour choices, but they didn't do that.
Yeah.
Which I thought was unpredictable. And when they didn't choose that one, because I did have that same thought, but I was like, oh God, here they go. They're going to totally do the bus. When they didn't, I was like, this is a really nice surprise. And I'm almost relieved that they didn't do that.
Yeah.
They didn't do what was expected as a viewer.
Right. I know. I like it when they do it. And that also shows that their head's really in the game, because they probably, thought it would be more in their control, even though they might not have the best eye-hand coordination, which I don't either, so I don't blame them. But, their head is definitely in the game, and that showed.
I agree. And it was funny how on the way to the detour with Brody and Kurt and Tyler and Corey were like, oh, great. Wait, these are the Frisbee guys. They hit targets for a living. So, yeah, and of course that did aid in Brody and Kurt's success in it being rather quick for them.
Oh, my gosh. They were in and out. Yeah.
And that kind of gave them that lead to do well the rest of the leg.
And also it looks like Tori, that's kind of what they call themselves. Tyler and Corey got stuck in a little bit of traffic even heading to the detour. So that actually, even though they were the first ones to leave, they actually got there second. And pretty much by the time they did get there, Kurt and Brody were already heading out. Mm-hmm. But literally watching Tyler scream and giggle and yell and jump.
It's just contagious.
Oh my gosh, it was a delight. I think I actually rewinded it to watch it over again.
Another person that actually stuck out to me on the polar opposite spectrum of this was Dana. She was kind of a mess.
She was.
She was like, don't tell me what to do. Play your own game, Matt. Someone in the live chat, let me see if I can find it. Jamie H. just said, Dana is getting the Haley edit from Blair and Haley, which I can kind of see. Yep. Dana's just very loud and kind of opinionated. Mr. Aerosonic on the other side of the opinion says, Dana is a star.
She is a star because she's very vocal, but I do, and you know what, the thing is Matt doesn't really bicker back.
No, he's just kind of like,
whatever. So clearly he's used to it.
Marco Polo 310 says, Dana might seem aggressive, but she actually cares about getting ahead in the race. I totally agree. She does care, but I think the way it comes off is a little abrasive, and I know for me and my personality, I wouldn't respond well to that. It would actually make me shut down.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just think Dana maybe needs to cool it with maybe how she communicates to Matt. Just because I think what she's saying, there's a lot of truth behind, but there's a nicer way to say it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's more out of respect for your partner. I'm not saying she's disrespectful by any means, but for some people, they might be like, she's being disrespectful in the way she speaks to her fiance.
Right. But I do think that because he's not bickering back, I think it's not something new for him, to be honest.
True.
But I also want to mention the models. I know we kind of mentioned them earlier, but I loved how, I don't know who was, Jess or Brittany, right?
Yes.
But they were like, oh, that one broke a nail.
Yeah, I think that was Brittany. I feel like she's always the one that's so quick to spit those kind of comments out. So I'm pretty sure that was Brittany because that did register with me.
And also the minute Cole got there, and of course now there's that pressure, they gotta look good in front of Cole, right? She literally just nailed it. She was like, all right, I got this one.
We're out.
Sometimes when there's the boys around, us girls, we act a little bit better. I loved that. I really like the models. I'm a little jealous on whose fantasy team they're on.
They're growing on me. For the tickets part, we didn't really talk about a mistake that really cost a lot of time for Team Magic, Zach and Rachel. They get into the taxi, think that they had completed the detour, but as they're counting the money, Rachel says 10, and Zach goes, babe, wait, that's one. So she miscounted the money, which I can see being confusing since it's a different currency.
Right.
But that cost them a lot of time because now they had to go back and finish out the detour fully.
Yeah, and unlike Dana and Matt, even though she, made a boo-boo, they were so calm and he was so understanding. He goes, it's okay. We're just gonna have to go back, do it again. I'm not gonna lie, if that was my partner, I'd be like, are you retarded? I probably would have said some, not nice words, but he was so calm about it, and they just literally turned their taxi around and they went back, and they ended up being $5,000 short. So they had to get back on a bus.
But
what did you think of Scott and Blair?
I thought Blair was really cute. Honestly, it wasn't really like much of a surprise. I was like, she handled it the way I felt like she would handle it. She worked it. And I'm very proud of them because they almost went home in the first leg. And now that it's like they got that new life, it kind of lit that fire into them. And so Blair, I just think she's really hilarious. I know some people are like, oh my gosh, she's just a lot to take. But I just think it's really fun and entertaining to watch her.
Well, and she's young. I mean, yeah, she has a very high voice. But that's just who she is. And I love her energy. But I have to say, oh my gosh, when she said, I'll twerk. I don't care what I do. Literally the face on Scott's, the reaction on Scott's face was priceless. I mean, he was like, you are not twerking in Colombia, girlfriend. But that would have been great TV if she did bust out some twerks. But instead, she just blew some kisses.
Blew some kisses. Pesos for pesos.
Yes, that was so good.
Once teams completed the detour, their next clue told them they had to head to Calle San Juan de Dios at the exterior of Museo Naval do Caribe and find the local mochila vendor for the roadblock. This roadblock honestly was just kind of all over the place for me. I had a hard time following it.
Yeah,
I just didn't even know how to take notes on it.
I didn't either, and because it was weird. Some teams understood it and got it like no problem, and to be honest, it was the teams at the beginning that just they understood it. They got the clue. They knew where to turn the bags in, and then towards the end, it was like this disaster of complications.
It was just so much running back and forth. Then the bag thing, and then trying to match the label, and then I wasn't a big fan.
I wasn't either. It was kind of boring to watch because all we really saw was them running around.
I feel like you had to be there to really understand. I mean, I get you had to match the bag with the designer and all this kind of stuff, but it's like, but then you had to go to certain vendors on like certain streets, which Aaron and Scott had a really tough time with. And then at the very end, Darius like literally did not know where to turn the bags in, where the girl was over
sitting right where they started. I was just like, why is this so confusing?
So for this roadblock, you guys, the team member had to pick a mochila. We're gonna break it down. Pick a mochila, search around the plaza. There's two different plazas that they could search through, Plaza Santa Teresa and Plaza Santo Domingo. Find two exact matches of the same design and designer label through hundreds that were on display. When they found the right match, they had to bring them back to the vendor in exchange for their next clue. Then the clue would direct them to walk to their pit stop. That's it. That's all they had to do.
And I understand that, but I don't know why people got it so complicated. And we saw a lot of... So Dana, of course, oh my God, another line from hers. She goes, don't talk to me. Go back into your world. Let me live my own life.
So, I would have been like, thanks, babe, for the support. I'm trying my best. That seems like the most sweetest way to respond. Or, babe, I appreciate the support, but I really need to do this on my own. There's just better ways to handle it with tact. That I'm just kind of like...
She's so funny. And she was like stepping on the girls. Oh my gosh, she was stepping on the girls' merchandise as she was reaching to get the bag. And literally the merchandiser's face was like, you're stepping on the jewelry that I'm trying to sell. Like, she was so funny. But she got the job done.
But this goes back to kind of like the comments that we did address at the beginning of our after show, is that a few people are saying, they're just too nice to each other. So there's really not a lot at stake. We saw that with Aaron and Scott. That's a really good example. They worked together to kind of push through this roadblock, but then there was a moment where Aaron completely deserted Scott, and I was actually excited. I was like, hell yes.
Yeah.
Like, do your own thing, girl.
Right,
like, stop.
go.
And then when she came back, I was like, ugh. Again, this goes back to the comment that everyone's making, that they're just too friendly with one another,
but
and it doesn't make it exciting.
Okay, so at first she left, and just like you said, I got excited, and then she came back to Scott and was like, "Hey, Scott, can I see the map?" And he was like, "No, you just left me." And I was like, "Yes, there's finally competition." And then literally the very next scene, Scott's like, "Oh, don't worry, I get it. You were just excited." I'm like, "All right." Now they're being nice to each other again.
Yes.
And the exact same thing with Brittany and Cole. Brittany and Cole teamed up Brittany found all her bags and she decided to still run around with Cole. I was like, girl, you're in a race, ditch.
Honestly, though, that relationship doesn't surprise me as much because we saw them kind of have this instant chemistry and connection in the first episode when they got to the airport.
Yeah.
That I was like, okay, this is like one of those moments where you have an ally that you want to see do well. And that's kind of like when I appreciated Cole saying, no, this is your race, go do your own thing. So I appreciate and I commend Jessica for doing that because I think she thought she was doing the right thing, whereas Scott and Aaron, it was just kind of like, what?
Yeah,
like, you're towards the end of the pack. One of you has the potential to go home, if not Darius and Cameron. Yeah. So why are you working together? Unless you work together to get out Darius and Cameron, but that wasn't explained to us as viewers. So that's the confusion of why are you being too nice right now? Exactly.
And actually, that was another moment that the models really proved that they're in this race and their heads in this race because they mentioned just that to Cole. She was like, no, I'm going to stay with you. There's so many teams behind us. We're in the middle of the pack. I'm going to stay with you and help you.
They have a grasp on the competition. Yeah. Where some teams it's like, what?
Right.
You're just running it to have fun.
And I think Aaron, because Aaron's now done, even when they were doing digging for those little pieces, she was working with Sherry. Mm-hmm. So I really think Aaron just likes the comfort.
Especially when you're at the end. Yeah.
Especially when you're at the end, just the comfort of doing a challenge with someone. And so I think that's why she kind of went back to Scott just to know exactly where he was.
That's true. Looking for that figure of like someone to lean on.
Yeah.
Especially when you're in a roadblock and you're all alone and you don't have the person that you are obviously running the race with. That is your comfort. So she didn't have Jocelyn. So Scott seemed like the next best option.
And
but
Scott
then on the flip side, though, of like teams being too nice is Rachel and Blair both knew where the vendor was that you had to turn the bags back into. And there was a clip of them kind of saying the vendor was right there and Darius and Cameron didn't know, but they didn't do anything. So that's on the reverse side is that they know it's a competition and they just didn't say anything.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately why Darius and Cameron lost a lot of time because they didn't find that vendor where Scott and Blair and Rachel and Zach had more time to now kind of catch up and help out their partner.
But the people who are not doing the roadblock, are they allowed to say anything?
I don't think so. I don't think they're allowed to like aid in helping.
Because maybe that's why they didn't speak up. Because they were the ones, like Blair didn't do it.
That's actually a good question. I'm curious to know now.
Yeah, so I don't think like, they can say anything.
Yeah, I think it was just kind of assumed though, because that's where they got their clue to start off at. So it's like you got your clue from this person, this vendor, and you didn't come back. So I don't know. That's actually a really good question.
And Cameron saw everyone turn their bags in, and he was not allowed to say anything. But did he know that that was what Darius was looking for?
I honestly think it went over his head at that point, unless they confused it as the vendor was the last. It was a different booth.
Huh.
And then you turn it into your vendor and then come back to your teammate. I don't know. So much. That's why this whole roadblock to me was just kind of like hard to follow.
Yeah, it was. Really, for sure.
But hey, whatever.
Whatever.
Once teams finished the roadblock, they had to travel on foot to their next pit stop. First place, Brody and Kurt. Second place, Tyler and Corey.
Who, by the way, won a trip to Greece.
Oh, I know. They're going to have an amazing time.
5 nights in Greece. One can dream.
Second place, Tyler and Corey. Third place, Bernie and Ashley. Fourth, Dana and Matt. Fifth, Brittany and Ashley. Sixth, Sherry and Cole, which I actually find interesting because when I was looking up the stats and just helping me kind of like overview my notes, there was a note that I had read that did link me to a tweet that Sherry had tweeted during the episode where apparently they received a penalty as a team. Sherry and Cole got a penalty at the pit stop for having an additional bag in the roadblock to match when you're only supposed to have a certain amount of number, like a certain amount of bags. So I think Cole had more than he was supposed to match bags with, and then ultimately got this penalty.
And one of them wasn't a correct match?
I don't necessarily know the gist, but the tweet was Sherry said, penalty, this is what happened, which would have required, that would have given them a time penalty. But because so much time had passed once they checked into the last 3, it didn't air because the penalty wouldn't have mattered. There wasn't a lot of of anticipation because they checked in during the day when the other 3 teams checked in at night. So it wouldn't have been like exciting to watch. But that was just interesting. I'm not sure the gist, but I saw it and I was like, I want to share just in case.
And just going back, I loved when the models got to the mat.
Oh yeah,
the girl was a pageant girl, and they were both
Miss
pageant
Cartagena.
girls. That was so cool, and just like to see their faces light up, I'm like, it's like a community of pageant girls.
And
was cool.
7th was Aaron and Jocelyn, and Aaron was funny because when that same lady goes, "I'm Miss Cartagena," and Aaron's like, "Of course you are." and
Aaron got emotional. It seems like the stress when she does get stressed, she gets pretty emotional because we've seen her, kind of on edge a few times now.
Yeah, I just think she's like really loving the experience. She's taking it all in.
Yeah, she is.
And 8th place, we have Scott and Blair. 9th place, Zach and Rachel. And last but not least, the team that had quite a bit of mistakes this leg, or just weren't all there, were Darius and Cameron. It's for some weird reason, I was really sad to see Marty and Hagen go because I just felt like there was something about them as a team on the race. Whereas with Darius and Cameron, not only did I not really get to know them, but I wasn't attached to them as a team.
Yeah. I mean, you can tell they're smart individuals, but they're almost like monotone.
Yeah.
Like their energy never goes up. Like even at the end, like when they had to go, it was like they didn't even seem that sad. When they got to the next thing, they never really got excited. It was almost just kind of like.
I know. It's like maybe they're just so overly intelligent that it's just like. There's a lot going on up here, so it's just more like, proper. But I just, for some reason, I wasn't sad to see them go.
No. I mean, I predicted them to go.
Yeah, we did. We said that last week.
Yeah.
That I was just like, I'm kind of glad over any other team.
I am too, because they didn't really add much to me.
No.
I'm sure they're great human beings.
Right, but they just didn't bring what the other teams bring.
Yeah, and especially I kind of want to go back through and watch their Vines because, in Vine, when you think of Viners, you think of people with lots of energy because they have to captivate audience in, what is it?
6 seconds.
6 seconds.
Yeah.
So, it'd be kind of interesting.
Lisa Payne Chirico said no, he was crying in his interview when they left. Cameron was.
Oh.
And then Marco Polo goes, yeah, Darius and Cameron just weren't in it to win it. I didn't get that vibe either.
I didn't get that.
I just kind of wish Marty and Hagen would have gone on to this leg and Darius and Cameron gone last week.
Yeah.
So yeah, that kind of sums up the recap for episode 3, which gives us time to Jess. Is there something you want to share?
Yes. So as I mentioned earlier, I was able to meet Tyler Oakley I was working for Vanity Fair for Oscars, and he came and had a panel to talk about his YouTube channel, and I raised my hand and I go, I don't want to ask you about your YouTube channel, but I want to ask you about Amazing Race, and why did you decide to do it? And so I filmed his answer, and so I want to play it for you guys.
The CBS this spring. Sundays at 8. Fridays at 8. How dare you? That's right. I did it because Corey, who was my partner on the race, him and I are obsessed with reality and CBS reality, specifically like Survivor, Big Brother, Amazing Race. Like Julie Chen is my everything. So I was like, when I heard about the opportunity and that they were casting a social media season, I was like, I don't give a crap that it's social media. I would go on it if it were not social media. I would go on it if I didn't have any social media. Like, this is like something that I've always wanted to do. Even to the point where back in high school, we used to do our own Big Brothers, like in my friend's house, and we did it in Amazing Race, Okemos, Michigan, where we drove all around my hometown. And I never told casting that. I think that would have like probably helped me get on, but I got on, so it's whatever. But yeah, so it was. I wanted to win. Corey and I are very competitive, and it was an opportunity to see the world. So like, it was just kind of like, why not? Of course. Like, it was never a question to me. Like, should I do it?
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that cool? It's a little insight, and I wish we could go back and find those Big Brothers that he actually filmed back in college.
Yeah, I've always known that he was a fan of reality TV because back in 2013, I worked as a PA for the show The Winner Is, which is like this music singing competition, and they brought in talent to judge the voices on the show, and he was one of them, and I was his handler for a little bit at that time, and I'm from Michigan, so we were able to connect on that. So talking about reality TV, I always knew that he was a fan. So ultimately, when he was on The Amazing Race, I was like, this is so perfect. And that's why my argument, too, is like, I think the idea of the social media theme is okay. I just honestly think it would have worked better for a show like Big Brother if you put a lot of big personalities who make content for a living in a house on Big Brother. It would probably translate better. Whereas an Amazing Race type show is all about relationships, and again, our biggest argument is like people who've never traveled before, people who are striving to work for something in their relationship, people who literally are struggling to make ends meet with their bills, and they could really use $1 million, where a lot of these teams, because of how successful they are, they don't need $1 million at the end of the race. They just want the experience, which is why this high stakes race is just not there, and it's not alive this season.
And you know, I know that we were talking about this earlier, that the ratings really, I mean, I'm sure they purposely casted these people with huge followings to see if the ratings would go up, and they actually haven't. If anything, they've gone down.
They have gone down.
So it's kind of shocking, and I personally thought for sure that all of these fans would tune in, but they're fans on their YouTube shows or their, certain outlets, not...
Well, and I know a lot of people have commented on our previous after shows saying, well, I watch it from this country and it's not accessible to me, or I don't watch it till the next day and I download it. But you have to understand, like, the viewers, like, just because you download it online from like a website doesn't mean it's going to count towards the overall viewership when it goes live on a Friday night.
Right.
So that's why the viewers, I think, are going down, because the loyal fans that have been around since the very beginning are decreasing, just because it's not what the show used to be. And that's my biggest...
Yeah.
This is the hard part.
Yeah.
Again, why fix it if it's not broken?
Exactly.
But, yeah. Let's talk about our fantasy teams.
Yes, I'm so excited.
So... right off the bat, I kind of had an idea of who I wanted to pick, but because I'm a huge reality TV fan and I'm obsessed with Tyler and Corey on this season, and I love their enthusiasm for the experience, I went ahead and picked them. They've already proven to be big competitors in the race, and I can just see them kind of consistently staying at the top. Just because of their relationship and the bond that they have, I just don't really see them ever butting heads.
I'm jealous. I wanted Tyler. I think Marie wanted Tyler. Everybody wants Tyler. James is the lucky one. But that's definitely a good team for sure.
And then my second team that I chose was Brody and Kurt. I just, there's something about them where it's like they're really competitive. They've proven to do really well since the beginning. I like their relationship, and they don't fight either. And I kind of picked teams that are not fighting a lot. That was kind of like my theme, because like as you see, my third choice was Bernie and Ashley.
I was just gonna say, actually, all of yours have great communication.
Yes.
They are like, you can tell they're either best friends or in a solid relationship. So you definitely won in the communication department as well.
Thank you. I tried to keep a theme with my choices, because God bless Logan and Chris last season, but they just were not cutting it with their communication. So I wanted to pick teams that, for me, were well-rounded in all aspects of the race.
You succeeded. And you know what? I love how Ashley and Bernie, they're so in love. Like, you can tell, even when she was doing the cornhole or the game, they would kiss in between, and it was so cute to see that.
And all three of them actually at one point or another on one of these episodes have said that they are genuine fans of the race. So I'm glad I have teams that have a knowledge of the race and the show.
And that always helps in the race, too.
Yes.
And then should we go through Marie? Marie selected the models. That was her number one pick. She really wanted the models. And then she picked Cole and Sherry. And last but not least, the Rachel and Zach.
Which is funny, because when I had my option to pick a second team, because people in the chat think that we chose 3 teams in a row. What we did is I chose, Marie chose, Jess chose, and it kept going in a cycle. Yeah. Once it got to round 2, I was struggling between, do I pick Brody and Kurt, or do I completely screw over Marie and take Sherry and Cole?
Yeah.
Because I know she's been claiming them since the beginning, but I figured since I did that last season with the cheerleaders, Marie, you're welcome.
And then actually Marie
screwed me
over because I wanted Zach and Rachel, and she was like, oh no, I picked them. I'm like, girl, the devil ears are coming out.
And she has a pretty solid team, just because you have the girls. She's really a supporter of the models, and they're kind of in the middle of the pack. So I don't see them wavering from that point.
They're actually, to be honest, they're doing a lot better than I thought.
Right. And Sherry and Cole, same thing. Like, they're cute, they're fun, and I just kind of see them surprising people in the long haul. Zach and Rachel are kind of green to me. They're more of a wild card. You can see them either doing well or they're going to go home
Are they
soon.
a wild card because he plays with wild cards?
Oh, good call. And what about your team, Jess?
So my team is Matt and Dana, which they were my first pick because I do think they're competitive, even competitive with each other. So I think they're going to go far, but I just hope they work on their communication skills.
Agreed.
Fingers crossed. I had to pick Jocelyn and Aaron because I know them personally, and so they're my girls. And then I picked a daddy-daughter team just because that's close to my heart, and Scott and Blair are very cute, and I love their dynamic. They are the dynamic duo, so...
Yeah. Some people are saying that you have the weakest team, and I have to disagree. I think you have great teams, and I definitely think if anyone sticks out on your team, it's totally Matt and Dana. Just because they have communication issues doesn't mean that they're not equipped to win the race. Like, I think that, because they were going to be someone I was going to choose, but you already snatched them up.
Yeah.
So I like your team.
We'll see. I like my team, too.
I can see a winner from my team, your team, and Marie's team.
Yeah,
it's not like one-sided. So I'm excited to see because it's such a toss-up.
Cool. So we're going to start calculating our points starting next episode.
Yeah. We're going to do the placements again this season. Should we?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll start doing that again. And I want everyone at home, obviously, to pick a team.
Yeah.
Whose
Team
are
James,
you on?
Team Marie, or Team Jess.
Let us know in the comments below. Tweet us. And and of course, you probably will switch throughout the season just because that's what you guys normally do. But other than that, we're excited. The fantasy draft is full effect, and I can't wait to see how the rest of the season will play out.
I know.
Where can they find you on social media,
You
Jess?
guys can find me at Jess Carroll TV, and I also actually posted a picture of Tyler and I on my Instagram. So head on over, check it out, and give it a like.
And you can find me on Twitter at James Wallington and on Instagram at James.Wallington. And make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, Where's Wallington? It's my travel channel. I talk about all my things when I travel. And I'm actually going to the Philippines in 2 weeks. I'm going to have my own Amazing Race adventure. So you don't want to miss those videos of me in the Philippines. So we will see you guys next week at our normal time slot of Monday at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So have a great week, and we will see you then.
Bye, guys.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.